All right, you lot, don't forget to give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating. Trust me, it really does help us out.
One thing I did want to ask as well, in terms of, because we saw this, didn't we, with Alonso and Hamilton, and like everyone get up in arms because Alonso called Hamilton an idiot and said he only wins from the front, and it was never that deep. Like they were fine afterwards.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever is. And obviously you've got this insight, and I know you did stuff with Charles and Carlos.
Yeah.
And actually meeting these drivers. Who was the first driver you kind of met in a professional capacity, and how do you look on these drivers now? Because you go from a stage where you're just like a fan looking at these drivers, and they're these, but once you've actually met them, it kind of, and I'm sure it's the same with you to an extent, right? With Lando as well.
Yeah. Like Lando's your boss and your mate. Like that's the strangest dynamic ever.
It is odd, yeah, because obviously, as you said, you have an image of him like going through the championships, like watching him in F2 or whatever, and just being like, oh yeah, kind of a fan of him. He's pretty decent. I like him as a driver. And then you see him in the media and how he is, on social media, how he is when he's streaming and stuff. And yeah, it's that strange dynamic of then you go into his house to film a video and I'm like, yeah, this is sick. But yeah, I'm guessing your sort of viewpoints or entry points of these drivers has changed over time, given how much more you know about them now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people always ask me like, who's your favourite driver? And I always, people always go, well, this is such a vanilla answer, but I genuinely feel.
What? Come on, I've got to rep my boy.
Alex is a nice guy, but as the media, he's actually sometimes quite hard work.
Yeah,
he hates it, doesn't he?
He does hate it.
So like when you're asking him to do stuff, like he's always like, he's a good guy.
He's a good egg.
He's a good egg. But you can tell, like, the drivers that get it, and those that don't. That's a TikTok audio. Because I'm big on TikTok.
He is a TikTok creator. Slaps on TikTok as well.
Yeah, I think so. The first driver I think I ever properly did filming with and things was Vettel, and this was when he was at Ferrari, and you do just get this total different side of them. Like you get to see them operate as humans, and you have to try and let your starstruckness
put it to one side
and be like, right, we're just, and I think
professional.
Again, this is something that my mum and my dad always instilled in me, is that nobody is bigger than you. We are all trying to do a job or trying to get by, and they are far more highly skilled at racing, although...
At that one thing,
At that one thing, they are better than me. But everything else, not everything else. Could you imagine how compare it? Everything else.
I'm better than Seb at everything else.
I mean, that could be a content series, right?
Listen, if you didn't have to wear trainers, you'd given him a run for his money.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, I'm just saying. I got told by the instructors that I pulled off a badass overtaking move.
Hey, Seb's doing Race of Champions this year.
Oh, bring it on.
In the snow.
Bring it on.
I reckon you'll have him.
Let's have it.
1,000%.
Let's have it. Sign me up. But no, I think it was the funniest thing about my first interaction with Seb was that you got to see that mischievous side of him, which I feel like has come out more now that he's retiring at the end of the season.
Yeah, he's got that freedom.
He gives no shits now. He's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Which I love that for him. I've loved this era.
You should just drop one of them.
The
classic 4.
Oh, if only they wore rings.
Like Super Bowl.
That'd be sick.
That would be good.
It's like Alonso when he just chooses to leave a team. Like you just get chaotic Alonso till the end of the
Alonso is like the biggest shithouser in F1, bar none. The stuff that he has orchestrated, the stuff that he's been at the centre of, I don't think there's ever been, when he's been active, I don't think there's ever been a scandal in F1 that he's not been involved in.
Even if not directly, he just puts himself involved.
He just finds the drama.
I would love to have him on a pod because I think he's such an intelligent man.
So intelligent.
He's so sharp, not just on track, but all the stuff off track. He knows how it works. He knows what, and as much as I think a lot of moves haven't worked out for him, so you could argue that maybe those but also I think to actually get an opportunity to fight for a world title and actually win a world title is so difficult, and there's so many factors outside of your control. Yeah. And I just think, you got to roll the dice sometimes.
We always struggle, don't we? People always want to go, who's the greatest of all time? And
Chestnut. The classic. I literally mentioned mine. I mentioned my top 3 on a whim in a video.
Oh my God.
And it got clipped and put on Twitter. And like, how dare you not put Schumacher in your top? Schumacher's not in my top. I'm sorry, he's not. And that will get clipped now as well.
It's gonna, because you've just doubled down on it. You've doubled down on it.
I'm getting my burner account.
Man like Jim Clark, all right? But
yeah, it's like, it's so hard because there were so many. I mean, I find it really fascinating when you dive into people's careers and you're like, oh, if only they'd made that decision, not that one. And, you know, that maybe we'd be talking about, you know, Alonso, definitely. I think I once did one of those, like, do you remember those choose your own adventure, like, storybooks?
Yeah.
I think I created a Twitter thread that was basically one of those. And it was like, what Alonso's career could have been if he'd made other choices.
it's like that Black Mirror episode where you can pick your route.
Exactly.
Have you seen that one?
Quality.
So
yeah.
So
Quality
it was kind of like that. And, you know, he could have definitely have won like 4, 5 titles.
Yeah.
And it was just, I mean, I guess that's the way the world goes. Like, you don't always get it.
Well, Lewis rolled that dice on Mercedes.
Exactly. And
paid
can I
off.
just say, I have receipts where I said that would be the best move of his career ever. Just saying. Just saying.
He's got the receipts.
I'm just saying, I got the receipts. I think
Keep them under the bed.
It's probably. I'm probably one of those annoying people that I think I literally, whenever it pops up on my memories,
Told you so.
I'm like,
What'd you
just
say?
saying.
Oh, because it's always the tweet where Mercedes announced him, and all the replies are like, terrible move. What
Well,
you
the
doing? What
classic
you
Clarks and.
I think I said something along the lines of like, never underestimate the power of Braun. And this was, you know, I was just like, we've got Braun there. You've got, like, it was Braun GP, and you've got Lewis frickin' Hamilton going there. I was like, man,
match made in heaven.
that is a match made in heaven. I think Chris wrote that it wasn't going to be a good move, so I always have that over.
Who's the rat?
Like, for Brits
Imagine over dinner.
But yeah, so it's all good fun. We talk about F1 way too much at home. Like, there is no off button in our house. But
I was going to say, I imagine, the fact that you both work in quite high profile F1 related jobs as well. Like, do you just have to like delegate time to be like, this is non F1 time, or is it just?
So we have things like, I feel like this is not going to be able to last until we maybe move out and actually get a house. But in our flat, we have one room that has F1 stuff in it. So the rest of our house is no F1 memorabilia, no books, no pictures, no nothing. It's just in our, like, what we use for the study. In which there is too much stuff because there's not enough walls to hang things on. We've got like a hat rack that's only got like probably about 10% of our hat collection on there. The rest is in a cupboard. Like, so we try and like delineate things like that. But, you know, the reason why we're doing these jobs is because we're so passionate about F1. So we don't really like, we make sure that there is time for us and time away. I think we both got to a point where we realized we needed a breakaway. So we went on holiday for 2 weeks this summer, which was unheard of for Chris, especially because he's a freelancer. You know, if he doesn't work, he doesn't get paid. So we made that time, and it made a world of difference because I think beforehand we'd been so invested in our jobs, our careers, and like doing like good things and always progressing forward that it had got a bit much, especially after Abu Dhabi. Like, it had just got so intense. It definitely being like an F1 couple, it can be quite intense, but we both love it. Like, it's what keeps us going as well, because if one of us starts to feel like the pinch or a bit lethargic by everything that's going on and a bit despondent, we can be there to remind each other, and we both get it, which I think, this sport is so intense.
Yeah.
If your other half like just has no idea, no clue about what you might need to do, how much commitment you might need to give, how much you're going to be away, all that stuff. Like, I think there's a reason why there are a lot of, inter F1 families, relationships, that kind of thing, just because you need somebody who gets it to be your support. And Chris definitely is that for me.